Okay, we're going to give people just a few more minutes to join us before we get started. Welcome, everybody.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for being here. We're very excited to hear about your program. Most of us have seen you out there sailing in all different kinds of conditions and been very impressed and always happy to see those boats going by.
Well, we just love Annapolis, and we're just so happy that everybody enjoyed having us here when we started.
Yeah, you've been here for how many years?
30 years.
30 years. Why? Are you celebrating your 30th anniversary this year?
Of course.
Yes, very nice.
We'll have new hats of these made. I'm wearing my 25th anniversary hat right now. So,
and it's on the website. You've got it noted on the website too.
Yep.
I've been sailing in Annapolis for more than 30 years. And remember when you first started sailing, you had the one boat and then you grew to two. And it's always fun to see you out there. I'm always impressed at, no matter what the conditions are, you have sails up. And you're actually sailing and not just taking people on a little motorboat cruise of the area, which is true of a lot of other schooners that you see operating out of different parts of the country, you know, when you're out on vacation in different areas.
Yeah, thank you. We really, we want, people had a lot of choices on how they're going to get out on the water, and they chose a sailboat. So even if it's slow, we're sailing.
Oh, I would say slow.
Well, I meant for most of what most people say is motor weather, we're still sailing.
Yes. The boats are just beautiful.
Thank you.
They really are.
I'm just going to answer this Ken Appleton's question, if I may. He said his son used to run a tug and fuel barge up in Albany. Yeah, so I think there's about 15 schooners that the Scarano boat builders had made. And the two Woodwinds are the only ones that look the same, identical from the same blueprints. There's Adirondack and Adirondack 2 and Adirondack 3, and they have a lot of similarities, but they're not all from the same blueprints.
And where are they?
What was that?
Where are they built?
In Albany, New York, at Scarano Boat Builders.
In Albany?
Yep.
Who would have thought?
Yeah, well, you'll see the video, and you'll meet the 30-year younger workers that worked on building our boat.
I grew up in Rochester, and so I'm familiar with that part of the country, and didn't know there was a boat builder there. Good to know.
Yeah, Scarano also built America 95, and she's out in San Diego now. I was chief mate on her when she launched.
Cool.
They also have a boat called Spirit of Adelaide right now that's undergoing overhaul for one of the what would you call them, the reproduction races of the original Whitbread, where they're going around using only sextants and RDF and only things that were available in the 70s. An Australian crew is doing that.
I did not know that.
Okay, so it's 7 o'clock. I think we can get started. We've got a lot of people I know who are anxious to hear from our speakers tonight. I would like to welcome everyone to our March meeting, and especially welcome to Captains Jennifer and Ken Kaye, who are with us tonight. They've been operating the two custom-built schooners named Woodwind 1 and 2 out of Annapolis for now, we hear 30 years. And as I said earlier, just as we were talking, they're just such beautiful boats, and I'm always so happy when I'm sailing out there to see them sailing out there, and they really are sailing in all different kinds of conditions and weather, and so many people have enjoyed sailing aboard your boats, I know, and we're all very interested in hearing about your experience. And thank you so much for being with us. And we are going to be recording the session, just so you know, everyone. And if you can put in the chat area where you are all from, if somebody hasn't asked you to do that already, we always like to track where people are calling in from, and we think we reach a much wider audience when we offer this on Zoom. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Jennifer and Ken.
All right, well, wonderful. I'll just start for a little bit here, and then my dad, Ken, will say something, and then I think we're going to roll right into the making of the Woodwind video, and that's about 20 minutes long. And then we'll take questions, and then we might play another movie clip and take more questions and just have fun with this. So I wanted to just start. I'm Captain Jen, and I am Ken Kaye and Ellen Kaye's daughter. And we started this 30 years ago. And in 1992, we had a dream of doing this. The video will tell you a little bit more. And just remember the quality of the video. Here's the disclaimer. It was made with a 1992 camcorder. My mom, even though an art teacher, you know, you still didn't have the state of the art. We had no idea what we were videoing. You know, this was just a dream. And we ended up able to use all that footage and make it into something wonderful. But it's not as crisp as we all would like. So do you think Dad, what would you like to say?
Just first of all, hello to everybody. It has been a thrill to do this. I can't believe that there are two things that I've done in my life. Both of them have been thrilling. One is I've been teaching music, instrumental music, and I enjoyed it so much. And then I never imagined the idea that I'd be, have one of the fastest schooners in the Chesapeake Bay, and enjoy it. I enjoy taking people on.
All right. So what do you think? Should I roll them?
Roll them.
All right. Bear with me. I'm new.
This is Woodwind. This is why I love my job. My crew and I have the privilege of sharing this thrill with as many as 48 passengers. Some people ask me why she is called the Woodwind. She is made out of wood, is carried by the wind, and I play and taught wind instruments for 25 years. Let me introduce you to my family. My wife Ellen, my daughter Jen, and me with a full beard. This is our 21-foot sailboat. My wife Ellen and I have been married for 37 years. She taught art in the public schools. I am grateful for her love and courage to leave her profession and be part of a new business. My daughter Jen is 6 years old in these pictures. She is now Captain Jen. She found a place for us to start our business in Annapolis. She did this right after graduating college. Here she is in command of her own small boat. Please look carefully at this picture. This is what is called a framed hull. Much of the information that follows is based on an understanding of this picture. Woodwind is a stripped planked vessel. Think of the frame as the rib cage of a skeleton. The large backbone at the bottom of the hull is the keelson or hog. In this presentation, we will call it the hog. The curved timbers that look like ribs are called frames. The floors are not so easy to spot. They are the short timbers which connect or clamp the frames to the hog. The large, flat dividing walls are called bulkheads. There is only one plank on the hull at this time. It is the horizontal board that is halfway up between the hog and the top of the hull. Keep those terms, hog, frames, bulkhead, and planks in your mind as John Scrano and I point them out to you.
And then set up the stem has been scarf jointed into the hog. It's supported on this strong back. We will bevel the hog to match the bevels on the stem. After most of the planking has already been installed and we're supporting the boat on its planking, when we can pull out the strong back material and then proceed to put the correct bevel on the hog to take the rest of the planking going aft at that point. And you can see we've got the first 4 of 8 bulkheads installed at this point. The rest of the bulkheads will go on next. After the bulkheads go on, we'll put on some stringers and we'll attach the rest of the 50 frames against those stringers.
What you're looking at is the transom or stern connected to the hog. The timbers running perpendicular to the hog are the floors. They have not been glued down or fastened. They will be later. There's a bulkhead. There are more floors. The openings that are cut into the bulkheads give access into the cabin. John?
Like this.
So that's a frame right
This
there.
is basically,
That's a floor.
this is the floor. It'll be just like
There
that.
it is. The frames going into the floor are going 90 degrees to the hog. The floors are the clamp. John is now going to explain how the frames are constructed.
These planks with resorcinol glue on both sides, then they'll be stacked up together to make up the total 2.5-inch frame thickness. And that laminate will be set down on this jig, which is just plastic film over the full-scale body plan drawing. And the planks will then be pulled in with bar clamps against the dogs, laid against the lines of the body plan section, and clamped into place, and then lifted off after it's dried tomorrow morning.
Notice the force needed to push the frames into position. What does not show up clearly on this view is that the white plastic you see on the floor is actually clear plastic over a full-scale model drawing of the boat, so that the frames are going to have the exact shape that they need. The full-scale drawing was done on the computer that John has, and this kind of drawing using a computer is called CAD, or computer-aided design. It's a wonderful program that saves a lot of time. They are now cutting the frames in half, and one half will be the right or starboard side, and the other half will be the left or port side. So you get 2 frames, one for each side, and each frame that is glued down on the table. The other thing notice is that these men are wearing coats. It's wintertime and it's cold in Albany. Now for a little review. Here's the framed hull. You can see the frames going into the hog and the floors clamping the frames to the hog. Now John is going to explain how the boat is planked.
Okay, so we were saying that this is the guide for the master plank. It'll be the first plank that we put on the boat, and it's positioned such that the planks will bend fairly along the full length of the boat with minimal edge set or minimal twisting. So from this point, we'll plank up probably right up to the shear point as the first step in the planking. Maybe a foot on the port side, and then another foot on the starboard side, another foot on port, another foot on starboard until we reach the shear point. At which time we'll take our guide off and continue planking on down. All of the first plank that we put on will be just parallel with this guide, the full length. So what we do is we coat each frame with glue, maybe up 6 inches or so, or as far as we feel that we'll be able to get, for that day. And then we'll bronze fasten the plank as well as screw it to each frame. And then before the next plank goes on, both edge surfaces of the planks are coated with epoxy resin and drawn up tight, and then the adjacent plank is again bronze fastened to each frame on top of the first plank, so that the whole boat, when it's finished, is locked together in a monocoque, rigid, mechanically as well as glue fastened.
The workers here are clamping, gluing, and screwing the planks in place. Now the hull is almost completely planked. The planks on the bottom of the hull will be put in place later. This allows tools and workers to enter the boat without always having to climb a ladder. That plank that you see that's standing up from the others is the master plank. Now that the hull is planked, Bob is fairing the hull with a power planer. This heavy tool weighs about 20 pounds. Imagine how tiring it is to hold that tool over your head as you plane the bottom of the hull. Still, it beats hand planing. Now that the hull is complete, you can see the interior construction. We're looking at the galley area where the cooking is going to be done. This is the settee area you can see next on the left, where people will sit down to eat. On the right is the captain's cabin. Again, this is the settee area where the table is being measured. Now here they're using a Spanish windlass to get that carlin in place. It takes that much force. It's a pretty neat invention. Here the keel is being faired. The keel is hollow. It's made of fiberglass and epoxy resin, and it will be filled with 14,000 pounds of lead, which will act as ballast to keep the boat sailing upright. Has anyone ever built anything in your basement just to find that you cannot get it out the door? Maybe you have heard of someone else making that error. They are actually dismantling the front of the shed so that they can get the boat out. They actually anticipated this. The building is such a ramshackle old place, kind of put together with spit and glue. Watch carefully on the ramp. The ramp in the boat will sag or kind of bounce under the weight of 36,000 pounds. This is as close to giving birth as a fellow can experience. Here the boat is being taken out of the shed. And every time that boat bumps or jerks, I'm watching this and I'm saying, oh my God, after all this work, I can just imagine the boat falling off the ramp in a major calamity. Careful, boys, careful. The boat has been placed on a crane and is being lowered onto the keel. Notice the struggle to maneuver the boat onto the keel bolts. The keel bolts are going to go right through the keelson. They are 1 inch in diameters, and they are threaded rod. Here the keel, bottom of the boat is being prepared. Here the epoxy is being spread. That's John, the designer. Everybody gets involved. They're all spreading the epoxy to glue the keel onto the keelson, onto the bottom of the boat, or the hog. The engine on this boat is a 100 horsepower Volvo diesel, and it's being lowered in place into the cockpit. And of course, no boat would be complete without the sign or the ship's name on the back of the hull. This is on the transom. That's being hand lettered. She's doing a beautiful job. Here the wheel is being fitted in place. Not that way. Try it again. Whoop, there we go. Now you got it right. Side. I love a parade. Yum, da 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 da. Here the boat is being lowered by the crane into the water. Watch the worker holding the line that's steadying this boat. He almost gets dragged into the water. There he goes. He's trying to steady the boat. Put his feet against the bulkhead to stop being dragged in. There he goes. One giant pull, almost in the water, and he stops it. There he goes. Good. Woodwind tastes the water for the first time. Hallelujah. Now we have a boat, and it's afloat. The boat's going to be motored up to the Scarano boatyard, where the masts and rigging will be fitted out. We still have many days and hours to go, but at least we've got something floating. And she is pretty. So, this is the Coast Guard officer. He is inspecting the boat for the final time to make sure that all systems are in properly. This is her maiden voyage. Motor all the way down the Hudson, out to sea, off the coast of New Jersey, up the Delaware River and Bay, and into the Chesapeake. And for the first time now we are sailing. And the kids are so excited they're all going to climb out into the bowsprit. Yep, there they are. That's Jeremy, Jen, and Art.
Woodwind fin.
Okay.
Let's go.
All right.
So blue, winds I home, a rolling I will go. I'll sail no more on England shore to hear the music play. I'll off on a morning train to cross the raging main. I'm taking a trip on wood.
So what is it? It's a
Woodwind.
ship.
I'm taking a trip on Woodwind 10,000 miles away.
We have not only taken guests sailing, both public cruises and charter, but we have had the boat in numerous videos. Well, this completes the video. We've enjoyed showing it to you, and it's a beautiful day on the Chesapeake. Come down and sail with us. Thanks a lot.
What's that sight of grace and beauty tacking across the bay? Staysail schooner rigged, she's swiftly underway. Pride of dear Annapolis, and with her noble crew, quickly passing older boats and new. She's the Woodwind, running free, all the way to the windward and lee. She's the Woodwind, hard to lee. Let her go, running free. Hear her hull, it comes alive, and how her rigging laughs. Sails away goodbye as she passes all the gaffs. Here out on the Chesapeake amid the schooner race, she's the one that always sets the pace. She's the Woodwind, running free, all the way to the windward and lee. She's the Woodwind, hard to lee. Let her go, running free.
And there you are.
It's still a thrill to see that. And to hear Carol's song.
Yeah, and there's their song. So you got 2 for 1.
That's right.
So what's next?
Do we have any questions?
All right.
What a great demonstration of planking a boat. You know, some of us have read about it, have seen it finished, but to show it like that, that's really, really well done.
Yeah, my mom and dad get a lot of credit for that one.
How did you choose a designer for this boat?
Dad, why don't you take this question?
Well, we had been trying, first of all, we finally had made our decision that we were going to have our own business, and it was going to be a schooner business. So we decided that we watched other boats, and that's how we learned how businesses run or not run.
Mm-hmm.
And we had on so many different boats. Most of the time, however, they were heavy steel hull boats, and the boats didn't move other than having the sails up and the engine on. That's not what we wanted to do. So finally, we were in Newport, and we had a chance to go out on one of the first schooner that John ever built, and it was amazing. I took the helm for a short time, and it was like, being on our 31 footer and the way she handles.
Yeah.
And that's no lie. And that is amazing. So, so that was, that's what put the whole idea in our head that it could be done. And that's why we chose the Scaranos, because he built.
I think you got cut off at the end there, but he builds excellent fast sailing boats that are just wonderful. I know there's a question from Chris asking if there's anything that we would have changed. He said he thinks they're excellent, but is there a change? I know that one of the answers is if we knew we were going to build 2 or maybe 3, maybe then we would have a fiberglass boat, you know, with a mold. But
Yeah.
These boats are beautiful.
Wood epoxy is a marvelous material. John always pointed out that that wood is stronger for its weight,
Right.
than either steel, aluminum, fiberglass. That's amazing. And with fiberglass, you've got to stiffen the hull.
Mhm.
And one other thing Rich is asking, did the building of the second boat go faster or the same as the original boat? So they were 5 years apart, and they were pretty much took the same amount of time. And both were, of course, nail biters and down to the last moment when, of course, we felt like we had people waiting on the dock ready to go.
The boats are made out of Port Orford cedar, mahogany for trim, and Douglas fir as construction wood. So Douglas fir and Port Orford cedar are the 2 construction types of wood, and they're marvelous wood. Port Orford cedar comes from Port Orford, Maine. I mean, Port Orford, Oregon.
Oregon.
And we went up there to visit, and we wanted to see the Port Orford forests. They hardly exist now because of global warming. The bugs infect the trees, and the trees can't fight it off with the cold from the winter because it's not cold enough. So finding Port Orford is becoming more and more difficult.
For the mahogany, Honduras or Philippines?
Most of the place is Honduras. There are some places where the Philippines had been used. You really can't tell the difference when in terms of when you're on the boats, because the boats are stained, protect them from the sun, and then varnished with a 3-part commercial coating that is that protects it from the elements. And
so one question that is also, there's a lot of questions coming up, which I love. One was Rob Maher and Dad and Mom. I think you remember Rob,
right.
And who used to run the West River Fuel Dock, if I'm correct. Anyway, He said, was there any humorous moments during the build? And he remembers during American 95, they put the top mast on the main backwards, and John suffered his industrial accident trying to tighten the bobstay, which caused the owner ultimately have congestive heart failure, which he survived. The only heart attacks that we got were, number one, they were late. And of course, we're worried about the boat, you know, starting a brand new business. And you saw that video of John sawing away, like it feels like teeth grinding, you know, sawing away as the boat's moving through the water, and it's lucky he didn't slice his leg open. So one of the other questions here, and it's up to you if you guys want to share, Mom and Dad, how did you finance getting started? Congrats on making it work.
Ellen is whispering in my ear. She says, selling everything. That's That's a good summary. Yeah, we had to just, everything had to go. House, cars, everything was sold. Mutual funds, investments, just all gone.
And if I can just interrupt, you know, they did get my grandmother and grandfather help support, and they were paid back. And when boat number 2 came along, the lines were out the door for all the banks that wanted to finance us, but we couldn't get any financing through the banks on the first one.
Well remembered.
What type of maintenance program do you have to do to maintain their condition? Well, first I want to just reply to the second question after that. Did I hear Jen mention a third Woodwind? I mentioned it, but I didn't mean it. I'm gonna stop the rumors right here.
Thank you.
Scott is about to crew for us. He's starting to work for us too. He's the instigator. I could see this already. So what type of maintenance program do you have to do to maintain their condition? Vicki, that's a great question. And I would love to show a couple of photos of our latest cockpit redo. Is that cool?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I do want to mention that Mickey, Captain Mickey, is in charge of maintenance now, and he is amazing. He is organized. Absolutely, Mickey Lawler is just amazing the way he can organize everything. And to help him out, he's got John, and it's amazing. It really works out well. The two of them work as a team, and then they organize the others.
All right, hang on. Just move this window away. This is not the question. I'm gonna stop sharing that and figure out where it is.
That's John Poppenhausen, by the way.
What was that?
I was just saying that I said it's Mickey Lawler and John Poppenhausen.
I can hear my mom whispering in the background. I will try and get these things for you here in a second. Let's just keep up with some of these. Hoffman would like to compliment as a former owner and sailor of wooden boats. Awesome. It's nice to see you all. That needs to go. Bye, Rob. Sorry, Captain, not the fuel dock, Rob, someone else. Okay. Can you speak to the crew training program? Sure. Our crew, we are hiring. Our crew training program is about 2 to 3 weeks long, and we actually give our crew, our trainees, notebooks with all the skills that they need to get signed off on by the captains. And it's a way for us as captains that we don't necessarily have to have conversations with our other captains. We just look at everybody's notebook and see what they're checked off on. And it is a great way to have them know exactly what to expect of how quickly they're getting through those skills. And it's a great way for us to know what we need to target with each crew member. So yeah, it works out well. Let's see. There new craft beer in the celebration of 30 years. There is. I just hope that it's going to happen. We have a 25th year beer, which is called Seize the Bay IPA. And that is coming out. Let's see. That we're having a brewery release party at Hysteria Brewery in Columbia on April 7th, which is a Friday at 5:30. So that's that. The 30th anniversary beer. It's a little hush hush right now. And but yes, that's what our hope is. So thank you for talking about they like ours. Where are my crew members now, and where are my crew members that are being hired? So we have been doing these posts of telling people of all the awesome crew members that we've had in the past and where they are right now. And it's amazing of what they've done with their lives, from Andy Shell with 59 North and doing adventure cruises with people all around the Atlantic and up to the Norway and down to the Caribbean. It's amazing. So let's see.
Do you see how long was the design and build phase? You see that question? Jen?
So the whole thing was about 9 months, like a baby. And my dad can maybe tell you a little bit more while I try to look for these photos. I'm gonna go off video, but I'm still here.
I do want to say thank you to Ivor Franzen. He was our first captain, and he was the one who taught me how to sail a schooner. The language is different than it is on a sloop. There are all kinds of things that have to be done, and Ivor knew how to do it and was kind enough to teach me. Thank you, Ivor. Really, and he also did some architectural work in terms of when repairs had to be done, or we had to have check, technical things. Man, let's see.
Ken, was there anything that anybody gave you about advice about starting your business? You probably know you could advise anybody now about it, but when you first started, this was really new, and it was, 30 years ago, things were different. Did anybody give you some good advice that you could share for the rest of us?
Well, most of the advice that we got was what we observed. That's where the advice came from. It'd be like, we'd look at some business, and they remember we went sailing on one boat, and nice boat, and we had a good time, but we had to ask the crew what this was, or what that was, or what are we looking at. They didn't volunteer that stuff, and that was a big thing to learn. Is that you've got to say to the crew, you're not just sailing the boat, you are part of the passengers. You have to answer their questions, and you have to anticipate what they're going to say, and of course for the safety, you decide what they need to do when the boat tacks or jives.
And I have the best advice that anybody ever gave us. And I remember this specifically because I was on the public relations side and trying to just promote to everybody we were coming. And these crazy people from Connecticut were going to try and start a business in Annapolis. And it was a family of 3. And I was lucky enough, somebody told me, whatever you do, if you want Annapolis to love you, stay here for the entire time. Stay here in the winter, put down roots, be part of our community, and we'll love you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that very clearly.
I don't remember who told us.
Yeah, no, I know, but I remember listening to that thing. I think that.
Now, Dad, maybe you can attack this one. Did you have any issues with the Coast Guard certification process since it was a wooden boat?
No, the Coast Guard recognized wooden boats and how they were constructed. So, and John understood it very, very well, so that he could make sure that he met the standards. Let's answer the question.
I think so. I think and we got reclassified as composite, right?
Right, and finally the Coast Guard recognized fiberglass, and so our boats are now considered fiberglass because they're wood epoxy, and on the outside of the hull is a very thin layer of fiberglass that's epoxied onto the hull, and that holds the planks in place, and of course waterproof.
Yeah. And speaking of fiberglass, if I may, I think I'm ready to share some pictures. Let's see. So here is, can you see that all?
There we go.
Great. Okay, so this is them staining the decks right here. Now, how come I can't? Oh, there we go. And then here they are disassembling, scraping away the cockpit of Woodwind 2 because the decking got too thin. And it was going to be easier to then replank is to fiberglass the cockpit. So this was the start of taking it all away. And here's the next one of them getting the fiberglass ready. And them starting to put it down. Look at that. This all happened this winter.
Wow.
Then this is the primer. And then voila,
Gorgeous, just gorgeous.
our new cockpit. So this should be less wear and tear. And because it's not wood and it's not, you know, it's not going to be porous and hold dirt, we're hoping that this is much easier to keep clean and keep, you know, those ladies' white pants pristine. Oh, anyways. So that's that is that. Somebody else asked, did you give the crew frequently asked questions learned before going out with the guests? They'll hear it quick enough. They're going to be training for about 2 weeks on the boat, so they hear what everybody asks over and over and over again, and then they try to put their own spin on it, which is fun. So, do you guys mind? I know another question that everybody loves to ask is about the wedding crashers.
Oh, yes. What about the wedding crashers? What about the secrets?
All right, we'll tell you about the secrets. Can I play the clip?
Yeah,
Please.
movie night.
Movie night, yes. Let's just make sure I can do this. Oh. Let's-
Chesapeake Bay schooner race. Do you guys always win with that beautiful sleek hull, or how'd you do this year?
Aw, thank you. We kicked butt this year. When it came to crossing the finish line, but there was no wind all race. I don't know if any of you all, I saw Banu, what's her, Julie, oh, she's gonna kill me, I forgot her name. But she did the race as well, and there was no wind for, what was it, like 35 hours, and then the last 5 hours it blew. And when that wind finally came, we were able to sneak ahead of Duncan on the adventure schooner that he has, the Cherubini, and
Yeah.
but on corrected time, we like finished 40th, and I think there was only 20 boats in the race.
Do you use some racing crew to aid you, or you guys just really know how to make her zoom? So to speak?
We definitely know how to make her zoom, and we know what she's capable of. And I think what we have as something that is as a heads up over anybody else is that we know our boat. We sail it all the time.
Yeah.
There are a lot of boats that do the schooner race that are just weekend sailors, or they're once a month sailors, you know. So I still think that, you know, that's where we get our edge. We take one of our navigators that has sailed with my parents since I was 13, and he continues to race with us. So that's fun. Yeah, so I see that somebody, Kim Hall, was asking, can we just go ahead and speak to the experience of the film in the movie? Yeah, I would love to.
Yeah.
So it was actually filmed back in 2004, and we were hired to at first film a commercial. And when the people came out of a limousine out in front of the hotel to go and view our boat, that's when we had a feeling that it was a little more than just a commercial. There were a lot of people with big sunglasses trying to hide who they were, and one of them was Rachel McAdams. And I remember the director coming on board the boat. His name was David Dobkin, and he climbed on board the boat without us actually like saying welcome aboard, and he just ran around that boat like he was a little kid in a candy shop. I remember him rushing to one of the fisherman sails winches and just moving it and listening to the sound. And I was like, what are you doing? He's like, this all adds texture to the movie. And I think that's why they did their when they said tacking back round, but they were actually, I think, jibing. Anyway, I think that's why they used the traveler and they used all that motion so that, you know, they could make a lot of sailing noise. And that's what he said. It was all for the texture. But they looked at 100 different boats and chose the Woodwind because it had so much room on deck. And we took off our life jacket boxes after requesting them to, you know, asking the Coast Guard to make sure that we could go ahead. So that was cool, but they ended up using us for about 7 days, and we went down to Cambridge for filming. We went to the Tread Avon Yacht Club for filming. We went to the Wye River for the scene at the dock when they come back in after sailing, and Bradley Cooper's waiting there with a gun being like, who's ready for the quail hunt? And that was all in the Wye River. So the first day of all day filming, we were in Oxford, and then they said, all right, we'll see you in Cambridge. And we're like, what? And they're like, oh, and then the next day you'll be at the Wye River, and then we'll see you back in Cambridge. And we're like, that's over 12 hours, meaning we needed a new shift of crew. So I had to find some crew, a whole new captain and crew to transport the boat to the different locations, because the movie people don't like to hear the word no.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was pretty cool. I have pictures of, you'll have to come sailing with us. Now I'm afraid to share anything.
It wasn't you. It wasn't you.
I know, but I can try if you guys want me to try again, sharing the photos, some photos of them making the movie.
Do you require hired captains to go through the training?
Do we require hired captains?
That's the way it's phrased.
If we were to hire a captain would have to go through crew training first and then switch over to captain training. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
I think it should be pointed out, as long as we were talking about the movie, is that our vessels, both of them, are statesal schooners. Statesal schooners are not something that occurred in the 1700s or the 1800s. Statesal schooners were developed around 1920 to 1940 as the most modern schooner rig ever built. And that's what our boats are. And that's why they're so fast, is because they are yachts. They were designed after the yachts that were built between 1920 and 1940, the statesal schooner rig.
Yeah.
All right, you want me to try?
Go ahead.
So here's, can you guys see that?
Yep.
Okay, great. So here they are with, you can see me holding a chart kit up.
Yeah.
To the side of me with the visor. That was our maritime coordinator. And then you have Rachel McAdams sitting on the cockpit. And this is where they were just all gathering to create a plan. That Marine coordinator almost ran me aground in front of La Trappe, Maryland a couple times, but he knew where we were going, and the key that the Wedding Crashers wanted was that they had no recognizable background in any of the shots. So there's Christopher Walken at the helm.
Oh, so captain-y.
Yeah, when, whoops. Oh, we saw that already, hang on. Let me just fast forward here. So there's Captain, okay, here's Walken at the helm, and then there's me really steering the boat. Because we were sailing near La Trappe, Maryland, and almost heading aground, and all the coordinator told me is you steer a course of this degree, and Walken will just stand above you and steer the boat, but meanwhile you're steering the boat. It was a compass, you know, a hand bearing compass on my chest to make sure we were going in the right direction. So, and here's like the over the shoulder, you know, kind of a look, and them filming. You can see them have the big microphone up high, and they're filming up on the foredeck there. And that's the boat without life jacket boxes. We're delivering the boat at sunrise to Oxford.
Ah,
So pretty wild.
pretty nice.
Yeah.
So Priscilla, do we have any more questions in the chat room?
I don't see any.
So I would like to thank both of you so much for sharing your experience with us. I think we're all fascinated to see how these boats were built, particularly since we've been watching them sailing for so many years. And you're both captains, so I would like to invite you to join CAPCA as the Professional Captains Association of the Chesapeake. You would be more than welcome, and I hope that you will join us.
Wonderful.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much.
Okay, thank you all for being with us, and tune in next month for another fascinating presentation.
And I just wanted to add, if anybody is looking for a job, as far as crew, we do have our captains. Or just want to ask any other questions, my email is very simple. It's captainjennifer@schoonerwoodwind.com. My dad's is ken@schoonerwoodwind.com. And then obviously the business is schoonerwoodwind.com.
Tell
Thank
your
you
friends
so
and family.
Yes, thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
See you next month. Not you two, but the rest of you, hopefully. Oh, but you can join us too. There you go.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Very good. Appreciate it. It was wonderful.
Thank you.
Hi, Sam. Nice to see you.
Thanks, Priscilla.
While I still have you all, I just wanted to follow up on what Ken said. I appreciated his kind words. And I got to tell you, folks, that was for me, that was a wonderful experience. I've run a lot of boats over the years, and I can't think of an operation or a group to work with that I had more fun with and have more respect for. So my hat is off to you guys. Nice work.
That's great to know that the kind of knowledge that you have, Ivor, is being passed on, because the direct knowledge from those of us who are a little older, unless we pass it on, it's not going to go. It's not, you can't get it out of a book.
Well, it was great experience, great stuff.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you all. Good night.